Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about some current events, things going on right now that have to do with animal welfare, animal rights, animal issues politically, I guess. Some good news, which is awesome, but also some bad news. But let's start with the good news. The European Parliament passed resolutions calling for provisions in the EU that would extend their ban on cosmetic animal testing. They're calling for a UN convention on the issue, and they're calling to close the loopholes that allow companies to sell in the EU even if they have tested on animals elsewhere. They want this to happen by 2023, so math, 5 years? 5 years. And the way that things are going with more and more cruelty-free options being available all the time, product sanctions like these could really finally mean the end of cosmetic animal testing. One of the interesting points that they made is that this ban has not hurt the cosmetic industry, that they still have a booming cosmetics industry since the ban in 2013. Even in the US, we've seen a lot of change with more and more companies going cruelty-free or announcing their cruelty-free status, and that could have something to do with European marketing. I think a perfect example of just how important cruelty-free status is and being able to say that you are a cruelty-free company from a marketing standpoint. I think this is shown really well by something that happened recently to a YouTuber, Jen Loves Reviews. She put up a sponsored video. It was sponsored by L'Occitane, I think is how you say it. She put up this review and they requested that she take it down primarily because she talked about their cruelty-free status and basically said that they're not really cruelty-free because they sell in China. China requires animal testing on cosmetics. Point being, L'Occitane understands that it looks really bad, especially if you are a high-end company and you are testing on animals, that consumers care about this. So my point is that from a marketing standpoint, it's really important that you are able to say that your company is cruelty-free. And also that L'Occitane sucks, don't buy their products. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens once these loopholes are closed. So that's the good news, and now on to the bad news, which unfortunately I think probably outweighs the good. In France, companies selling meat alternatives have been banned from using meat terminology. So if you are trying to sell some sort of plant-based bacon or steak, you can't call it vegan bacon or veggie steak. The argument is that consumers might be misled into believing the products were real meat. Commentators have pointed out how bizarre this claim is, given that these products can easily be distinguished from meat products by their name and their taste. So yeah, I don't even know what to say about that. It's so ridiculous. It's not something that's going to last. It's not something that can last because these industries are growing so rapidly, and eventually people are going to realize that there's a lot of money to be made in alternative meats. Either you move along with us into the future or you get left behind and you make less money. Tyson is being very smart. Tyson just invested in a second, either a clean meat venture or a plant-based venture. I can't remember exactly which, but there are certain meat companies that are being very smart, and they understand that this is the future. That if you want to make money, you need to get your hands in on plant-based, plant meat alternatives, dairy alternatives, and clean meat as well. So it's frustrating, but again, I really doubt that it's something that's going to last. And also, it's not as bad as what's going on in the US. Animal agriculture lobbyists are trying to assign control of cellular agriculture, in vitro meat, clean meat, whatever you want to call it. They're trying to assign control of it over to the USDA, where they have more influence. The US Cattlemen's Association wanted a lot worse than that, actually. They actually petitioned to ban clean meat from being called meat at all. In late February, the U.S. Cattlemen's Association filed a petition to the USDA asking the agency to define meat in such a way that it would exclude cellular agriculture products. A similar, larger trade group, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, filed a comment asking the agency to deny the petition, but to assume authority over the regulation of clean meat, which it derisively refers to as fake meat. Some clean meat groups have pushed back, arguing regulation of cell-cultured meat products should be regulated jointly by the FDA and USDA. So the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, their action here seems odd, right? Asking the USDA to deny this petition from the U.S. Cattlemen's Association. It seems odd, like they're going against their own interests, which probably means that they're not going against their own interests, that this is just some sort of political play. They know that the petition from the U.S. Cattlemen's Association, whatever the hell it's called, they know that that won't fly in America. So instead they are seeking regulation and reserving the power to be more draconian later on, right? I mean, remember, these people call clean meat fake meat, right? They have no respect for cellular agriculture. They have no respect for technology. And they have no respect for competition. If you are in the cellular agriculture business and you think this is all benign, you've lost your mind, says Stuart Pape, a Washington lobbyist and former FDA official who has represented the interests of the cell-cultured meat industry. This provision is the product of the cattlemen exercising some political muscle. So yeah, it's bad news. I think it outweighs the good news, unfortunately. As great as it would be to have all makeup, all cosmetics, all skincare, everything be cruelty-free, there's no doubt that there is much more suffering in the animal agriculture industry versus the cosmetic industry. I mean, just the fact that, you know, when you buy makeup, let's say, if you're buying like a tub of moisturizer or something that's not cruelty-free, how often do you rebuy that? At most, probably every month. Whereas if you're buying a hamburger for lunch, you had bacon for breakfast, you had some sort of chicken for dinner, right? That is ongoing exploitation. Again, it is important that we end cosmetic testing. And I think that could possibly be, I don't know if there's any studies on this or anything, but that could possibly be a gateway for people, you know, starting with, cleaning up their makeup, so to speak, going cruelty-free with their makeup or even vegan with their cosmetics, and then moving on to the harder stuff. Let's be real, it's a lot easier to have cruelty-free vegan makeup than it is to actually eat a vegan diet or even vegetarian diet. But it is more important and it is more effective. It has a much larger effect eating no animal products versus cosmetics, unless you are like one of these beauty YouTubers that's constantly buying new makeup and constantly buying stuff with beeswax and carmine and that's tested on animals. I mean, that's a totally different thing. But obviously most of us were buying makeup, you know, at most, like what, a couple times a month? I don't know. I might be totally out of touch there. I don't know how much makeup the average woman buys. Maybe it's an insane amount. Point is, it's important, but in vitro meat is even more important. You know, making these, as I've said before, these alternatives, whether it's plant-based alternatives or it is clean meat alternatives, making them available, making them affordable, making them similar in taste and texture, right? Which is where clean meat really shines, right? That's going to be the turning point, I think. It's going to be really important. And any sort of hindrance to that, it is a huge deal. Now, luckily, this hasn't been made into law, and there's a ways to go before it can actually become law. And I would say, in the meantime, if you want to do something to help, I think giving to organizations that really push against this sort of thing and really focus on supporting plant-based alternatives, clean meat alternatives is a good way to go. I think the best organization for that is Good Food Institute. It's who we donated to last year, 2017. I always donate at the end of the year when they're doing their donation matching. So, yeah, if you want to help, I think that's probably a good way to go. Link is in the description. Why am I pointing down? Like, you know where it is. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Comments and questions down below. If you want to subscribe, that's cool. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. Dang it! Finally got a pop socket. These things are awesome. It's cute too. It's got a wolf on it. Of course, my kid's obsessed with it, so that was a bit of a problem. And of course, I let them play with it before I put it on my phone. So then I had to take it away to put it on the phone. That was really stupid. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you so much. Great transition, Swayze. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the comments, for the response to my video on postpartum depression. This video I recorded, not this one I'm recording now, but the one that you just watched, I recorded before I recorded the one on postpartum depression, like right before, the same night. But yeah, so I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I waited to record the postpartum one last. And I have another video coming up too on the Beyonce meal planner one, a follow-up to that, coming very soon, also that I recorded before the postpartum depression video. Anyway, thank you so much. It's very overwhelming, the responses. I read through a lot of them, but I've kind of had to do that like in installments because there are so many. I'm so glad that I've helped some of you who are currently going through it, or you're pregnant and you're worried that you're going to go through it, which I think you're in a really good place, because for me, I never even considered that I was going to have postpartum depression, which is kind of silly because I already pretty much knew that I had depression, which I might do a video on talking about that, because as I mentioned in the postpartum video, my normal depression, quote unquote, is much different from my postpartum depression in terms of the symptoms that I have. I think it might be useful to have a video, mostly because what let me come to terms with the fact and really just learn that, wow, I might actually have something that can be treated, was a video that I watched. It was a YouTuber. I wish I could remember who this was. I don't even know. It's like someone in a male in their like early 20s, brown hair, glasses maybe. Wow, that's real specific. But anyway, they had this video where they talked about this very specific scenario, this example basically of how their depression makes them feel. And it was 100% how I've felt before. So let me know if you're interested in that. And again, thank you so much. I have changed the title of the video. Well, it's the same title, but I've included postpartum depression in the title and put it in the tags and whatnot. I didn't do that before because I've heard from so many and just read from so many that their videos were demonetized. Their videos talking about depression or suicide or anything like that were demonetized. So I didn't want that to happen with this video, obviously. So I wanted to wait a couple days, past the point where the video is going to make pretty much most of the money that it's going to make, right? And then I added it so that if anyone's searching for that, they'll be able to find it, right? Anyway, thanks again, everybody.